Welcome to U-Certify CCSP Must-Know Glossary Terms Part 3. Term: reversibility. Definition: refers to the ability to back out of a transaction or event, such as an upgrade or patching of a system. Is the user able to reverse the event and return the systems to its former state? Term: safe code. Definition: the Software Assurance Forum for Excellence in Code is both an organization and a standard for software security, as provided in their Fundamental Practices for Secure Software Development. Term: sandboxing. Definition: sandboxing refers to a system's ability to cordon off or protect certain aspects of the compute environment, such as processing, memory, and other resources needed in the compute transaction. It can be used for testing untested applications or carving out resources that cannot then touch other parts of the same system as part of a security strategy to isolate those operations. Term: sanitization media. Definition: the process of ensuring that data cannot be recovered from media. In cloud contexts, this typically focuses on cryptographic erasure. Term: Sarbanes-Oxley Act, SOX. Definition: SOX was enacted after several large company accounting scandals, such as those of Enron and WorldCom, involved large accounting errors of judgment. Named after the bill's authors, Senator Paul Sarbanes, D. Maryland, and Rep. Michael G. Oxley, ROH, and formerly known as the Public Company Accounting Reform and Investor Protection Act, SOX was enacted in 2002. Term: secret sharing, made short, SSMS. Definition: SSMS is a method of bit splitting that uses a three-phase process consisting of encryption with the use of an information dispersal algorithm, or IDA, and splitting of the encryption key using the secret sharing algorithm. The fragments are then signed and distributed to different cloud storage services, making it impossible to decrypt without both arbitrarily chosen data and encryption key fragments. Term: secrets. Definition: authentication credentials, including keys, certificates, tokens, and other data used to access data and services. Term: security assertion markup language, SAML. Definition: SAML is an XML-based, open standard data format designed for the exchange of authentication and authorization data between parties. It utilizes the services of both an identity provider and a service provider. Term: security information and event management, SIEM. Definition: often used interchangeably with SIEM, SIEMs deal with real-time security event monitoring. These solutions generally log and sort thousands to millions of logs in real time, generating usable reports that assist security professionals in making better informed and earlier security decisions. Term: Security Operations Center, SOC. Definition: a central unit or team that handles security operations and response. SOCs are often staffed and operated 24/7 to ensure organizational security. Term: semi-structured data. Definition: data stored in a format that applies some structure, allowing it to be more easily parsed. Tags or metadata help to apply some structure to it, with examples including XML and HTML. Term: sensitive data. Definition: sensitive data can be many things: social security number, DOB, address, and so forth. Each business must make decisions about what is sensitive in its operations in order to develop and apply appropriate controls for the protection of that information. Term: serverless. Definition: a cloud computing model that allocates resources as needed rather than dedicating a server to the process. Servers still exist, but applications can be built and run by using service calls on an as-needed basis. Term: Service Organization Control 1, SOC1. Definition: SOC1 reports are one of the reports on controls at service organizations, focusing on the user entity's internal control over financial reporting. Term: Service Organization Control 2, SOC2. Definition: SOC2 reports are relevant to a user entity's internal controls over the 5 security principles of security, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. Term: Service Level Agreement. SLA. Definition: a formal legal agreement between two or more organizations that may or may not contain incentives and/or penalties. One use of the SLA is to determine whether a customer is actually receiving the services outlined in the SLA. Term: Simple Object Access Protocol, SOAP. Definition: a messaging protocol specification designed for exchanging structured information in web services. It allows programs to operate independently of the client operating system. Term: Single Loss Expectancy, SLE. Definition: the amount of expected damage or loss incurred by any single security incident. Term: Single Sign-On, SSO. Definition: SSO allows a user to access multiple applications with a single set of credentials for authentication and authorization. It is often tied to federated SSO and often confused with reduced sign-on, RSO. Term: Software as a Service, SaaS. Definition: SaaS offers the user the capability of using the vendor's or cloud provider's application solution on their existing infrastructure. Term: Software Composition Analysis, SCA. Definition: identifies open-source software in an application or codebase, allowing organizations to determine what components make up their software. Term: Software Development Lifecycle. Definition: the concept of establishing clear phases and methodologies as part of software development. Term: Software-Defined Networking, or SDN. Definition: the idea of separating the network control plane from the actual network forwarding plane. This allows for greater control over networking capabilities and for the integration of such things as APIs. Term: Solid-State Drive, SSD. Definition: SSDs are widely used in cloud computing today because of their reduced cost and high speed. They can typically operate at much greater speeds than traditional spinning drives and use less power and generate less heat. Term: SSAAE. Definition: the Statement on Standards for Attestation Engagements is an audit standard. SSAAE Type 1 reports are point-in-time reports. Type 2 reports are done over a period of time. SOC 2 reports address controls and are often used for security auditing. Term: Statement of Work, SOW. Definition: a written agreement describing a specific engagement between two organizations, including deliverables, costs, and similar information. Term: Static Application Security Testing, or SAST. Definition: generally considered a white box test, wherein examination of application code for problems occurs without executing the binary. Term: Storage Cloud. Definition: the collection of multiple distributed and connected resources responsible for storing and managing data online in the cloud. Term: Storage Clusters. Definition: two or more storage servers working together to increase performance, capacity, or reliability. Clustering distributes workloads to each server, manages the transfer of workloads between servers, and provides access to all files from any server, regardless of the physical location of the file. Term: Stored Communications Act, SCA. Definition: the SCA, enacted in the United States in 1986 as part of the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, provides electronic communication and computing services privacy protections from unauthorized access or interception. Term: Stride Threat Model. Definition: first developed by Microsoft and derived from an acronym for the following 6 threat categories: spoofing identity, tampering with data, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privilege. Term: Structured Data. Definition: data stored in a standardized format, like a database table. Term: Tenant Partitioning. Definition: the practice of separating multiple users or consumers of a system or service, either physically or logically. Term: Threat Modeling. Definition: the idea of identifying specific points of vulnerability and then implementing countermeasures to protect or thwart those points from successful exploitation. Term: Tokenization. Definition: The process of replacing sensitive data with unique identification symbols that retain all the essential information about the data without compromising its security. Term: tort law. Definition: a body of rights, obligations, and remedies that sets out reliefs for persons suffering harm as a result of the wrongful acts of others. Term: traditional network model. Definition: these models use a layered approach with physical switches at the top layer and logical separation at the hypervisor level. Term: trusted platform module, TPM. Definition: a secure crypto processor used to validate and secure hardware using cryptographic keys. TPM devices are often embedded into hardware like a system's motherboard. Term: U.S. Constitution. Definition: the highest possible source of law in the United States, and no laws from other sources may conflict with the provisions in the Constitution and its amendments. Term: unstructured data. Definition: data that is not stored in a specific format. Emails, text files, and other user-generated content are common forms of unstructured data. Term: vendor lock-in. Definition: refers to the idea of a cloud provider or solution not allowing the customer to move their applications or data in the event they need or want to do so. Term: vendor lockout. Definition: refers to the idea that a customer may not be able to access resources when the cloud provider goes out of business, is acquired by another company, or ceases operation for any reason. Term: vertical cloud computing. Definition: refers to the optimization of cloud computing and cloud services for a particular vertical, for example, a specific industry, or specific use application. Term: virtual machine introspection, VMI. Definition: an agentless means of ensuring a VM's security baseline does not change over time. It examines such things as physical location, network settings, and installed OS, to ensure that the baseline has not been inadvertently or maliciously altered. Term: virtualization technologies. Definition: these technologies enable cloud computing to become a real and scalable service offering due to the savings, sharing, and allocations of resources across multiple tenants and environments. Term: virtualization. Definition: in cloud computing, virtualization refers to creating a virtual, logical versus physical, version of something, including virtual computer hardware platforms, operating systems, storage devices, and computer network resources. Computer hardware virtualization is a way of improving overall efficiency. It involves CPUs that provide support for virtualization in hardware and other hardware components that help improve the performance of a guest environment. Term: volume storage. Definition: volumes that are attached to virtual storage that behave just like a physical drive or array. Term: vulnerability assessment. Definition: a vulnerability assessment or scan is designed to identify known vulnerabilities in applications, operating systems, or network devices. Term: web application firewall, WAF. Definition: an appliance, server plugin, or filter that applies a set of rules to an HTTP conversation. Generally, these rules cover common attacks such as cross-site scripting, XSS, and SQL injection. Term: XML gateway. Definition: XML gateways transform how services and sensitive data are exposed as APIs to developers, mobile users, and the cloud. They can be either hardware or software, and they can implement security controls such as DLP, AV, and anti-malware services. Term: zero trust. Definition: a security framework that focuses on requiring all users, devices, and systems to continuously validate and verify who they are, authenticated, and that they're allowed to perform actions they wish to undertake, authorized, at the time the action is being performed. Term: acceptable use policy, AUP. Definition: a formal statement of policy signed by management, acknowledged by the user with their signature, and typically enforced by the Human Resources Department. The policy should state prohibited uses, such as those related to religion or topics of questionable use, and that computing resources are for company business only. The AUP should also state the prohibition of administrative system utilities and related system tools not specifically authorized as contraband. This eliminates any excuses or misunderstandings and enforces separation of duties. Term: Access Control List, ACL. Definition: An access control list, ACL, specifies which users or system processes have access to a specific object, such as an application or process, in addition to what operations they can perform. Term: Administrative law. Definition: Rules and regulations promulgated by executive branch agencies that implement many of the laws passed by Congress. Term: Advanced Encryption Standard, AES. Definition: AES is a symmetric block type of cipher used to encrypt information. It is currently the standard for the U.S. government to protect sensitive and secret documents. Term: Amazon EC2. Definition: Amazon EC2 is a web service that provides scalable computing capacity in the cloud. It is an example of IaaS. Term: Annual Loss Expectancy, ALE. Definition: The amount an organization should expect to lose on an annual basis due to incidents. It is typically calculated by multiplying the annual rate of occurrence, ARO, by the single loss expectancy, SLE. Term: Annual Rate of Occurrence, ARO. Definition: The annual rate of occurrence, ARO, of an event or security incident is how many times you could expect this event to occur in any given month period. Term: Anonymization. Definition: Anonymization is the act of permanently and completely removing personal identifiers from data, such as converting personally identifiable information, PII, into aggregated data. Term: Apache Cloud Computing. Definition: An open-source cloud computing and infrastructure as a service (IaaS) platform developed to help IaaS make creating, deploying, and managing cloud services easier by providing a complete stack of features and components for cloud environments. Term: API Gateway. Definition: A device that filters API traffic. It can be either a proxy or a specific part of your application stack that comes into play before data is processed. Additionally, it can implement access controls, rate limiting, logging, metrics, and security filtering. Term: Application Programming Interfaces, APIs. Definition: APIs are sets of routines, standards, protocols, and tools for building software applications to access a web-based software application or web tool. The two most widely used API formats are REST and SOAP. Term: Application Security Management Process, ASMP. Definition: ISO IEC 270341 defines an ASMP used to manage and maintain application normative frameworks, ANFs. The ANSP is created in 5 steps: specifying the application requirements and environment, assessing application security risks, creating and maintaining the ANF, provisioning and operating the application, auditing the security of the application. Term: Application Virtualization. Definition: Application virtualization is a software technology that allows for the encapsulation of application software execution on an underlying operating system. Artificial intelligence, a term used to describe machine intelligence. AI tools are often used for modeling and analysis and can include learning and pattern recognition capabilities. Term: ASVS. Definition: The Application Security Verification Standard, ASVS, uses a 3-level rating system. It is an Open Web Application Security Project, OWASP, created standard that can be used as a metric, as guidance on how to secure applications, and as part of procurement processes to determine if applications are secure. Term: ATASM Threat Model. Definition: The Architecture, Threats, Attack Surfaces, and Mitigation, ATASM Threat Model, focuses on the architecture of a system or environment, and then explores threats, attack surfaces, and mitigation methods based on the architectural understanding. Term: Auditability. Definition:
Auditability refers to something being in the state of readiness for auditing. In the context of cloud computing, it refers to the ability of an organization to obtain specific information regarding reporting and actions, controls, and processes.
Term: Australian Privacy Act of 1988. Definition: APA, enacted in 1988, is an Australian regulation detailing individual privacy safeguards. It includes laws and rules governing the collection, use, storage, and disclosure of personal information, as well as access to and correction of that information. Term: Authentication. Definition: The act of identifying or verifying the eligibility of a station, originator, or individual to access specific categories of information. Typically, it is a measure designed to protect against fraudulent transmissions by establishing the validity of a transmission, message, station, or originator. Term: Authorization. Definition: The granting of right of access to a user, program, or process. Term: Availability. Definition: Refers to the availability of services and/or data. It also represents one of the three legs of the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Term: Baselining. Definition: Baselining may include either defining the configuration standards for a system or software, or measuring network traffic or patterns in order to assess them for variances from the norm. Term: Big data. Definition: Big data is a term used to describe extremely large datasets used to reveal trends and otherwise undetectable patterns. Big data is often computationally analyzed using cloud infrastructure and applications due to their scalability and access to large datasets. Term: Blockchain. Definition: A list of records called blocks that are linked together using cryptography. Each block includes a hash of the previous block, a timestamp, and transaction or data records. Blockchains are used for cryptocurrency, supply chain management, document tracing, and many other uses. Term: Business Continuity and Disaster Recovery, BCDR. Definition: BC and DR are strategies designed to assist organizations in recovering from activities that disrupt normal functions, such as sales and manufacturing. They can cover both short-term and long-term strategies. Additionally, the BIA influences the BC and DR in guiding the building of the BC strategy. Term: Business Impact Analysis, BIA. Definition: An exercise that determines the impact of losing the support of any resource, availability, to an organization, establishes the escalation of that loss over time, identifies the minimum resources needed to recover, and prioritizes the recovery of processes and supporting systems. Term: Case law. Definition: A body of law consisting of previous decisions made by the courts that may guide future decisions by the same and inferior courts. Term: Central Processing Unit, CPU. Definition: A CPU is the core brain of any computing system. It handles all of the basic I/O instructions as they originate from the software, whether it is in the form of an application or an operating system. Term: Chain of custody. Definition: The practice and methods of documenting control of evidence from the time it was collected until it is presented to the court. It must be thorough, exhaustive, and detailed, as well as accurate. Term: Change management. Definition: Process that defines how the organization will review, approve, and implement proposed changes to information systems in a manner that manages both cybersecurity and operational risk. Term: Cloud Access Security Broker, CASB. Definition: An on-premises or cloud-hosted system that controls access to cloud services. Term: Cloud Administrator. Definition: This individual is typically responsible for the implementation, monitoring, and maintenance of the cloud within the organization, or on behalf of an organization, acting as a third party. Term: Cloud App. Cloud Application. Definition: Short for a cloud application, a cloud app is the phrase used to describe a software application never installed on a local computer and only accessed via the internet.
Term: Cloud Application Architect. Definition: typically responsible for adapting, porting, or deploying an application to a target cloud environment. Term: Cloud Application Management for Platform, CAMP. Definition: a specification designed to ease the management of applications, including packaging and deployment, across public and private cloud computing platforms. Term: Cloud Application Telemetry. Definition: a term that collectively describes the rich information sources provided by some cloud services that organizations may include in their security monitoring efforts. Term: Cloud Architect. Definition: a cloud architect will determine when and how a private cloud meets the policies and needs of an organization's strategic goals and contractual requirements from a technical perspective. Term: Cloud Backup Service Provider. Definition: a third-party entity that manages and distributes remote, cloud-based data backup services and solutions to customers from a central data center. Term: Cloud Backup Solutions. Definition: cloud backup solutions enable enterprises or individuals to store their data and computer files on the internet using a storage service provider, rather than storing the data locally on a physical disk, such as a hard drive or tape backup. Term: Cloud Backup. Definition: cloud backup or cloud computer backup refers to backing up data to a remote cloud-based server. As a form of cloud storage, cloud backup data is accessible from multiple distributed and connecting resources that a cloud comprises. Term: Cloud Computing. Definition: cloud computing is a type of computing comparable to grid computing that relies on sharing computing resources rather than having local servers or personal devices to handle applications. Term: Cloud Customer. Definition: a company, individual, or other entity that hires the cloud provider to take care of their data. Term: Cloud Data Architect. Definition: ensures the various storage types and mechanisms utilized within the cloud environment meet and conform to the relevant SLAs, and that the storage components are functioning according to their specified requirements. Term: Cloud Database. Definition: a database accessible to clients from the cloud and delivered to users on demand via the internet. Term: Cloud Developer. Definition: cloud developers focus on development for the cloud infrastructure itself. This role can vary from client tools or solutions engagements to system components. Although developers can operate independently or as part of a team, regular interactions with cloud administrators and security practitioners will be required for debugging, code reviews, and relevant security assessment remediation requirements. Term: Cloud Management. Definition: a term used to describe software and technologies designed for operating and monitoring the applications, data, and services residing in the cloud. Cloud management tools help to ensure a company's cloud computing-based resources are working optimally and properly interacting with users and other services. Term: Cloud Migration. Definition: the process of transitioning all or part of a company's data, applications, and services from on-site premises behind the firewall to the cloud. This enables information to be provided over the internet on an on-demand basis. Term: Cloud OS. Definition: a phrase frequently used in place of the Platform as a Service, PaaS, to denote an association with cloud computing. Term: Cloud Portability. Definition: the ability to move applications and associated data between one cloud provider and another, or between public and private cloud environments.